Hey everyone, welcome to Math Talk. I am your host, Brian Heisler, and today we're going to talk about unit rate conversions. So unit rate conversions, when I first learned about these, I actually struggled with them a little bit. I found them to be a little confusing, but after I continued to practice them and try them out, I actually started to like them a lot and like, how you solve them because I found it to be like a puzzle. You want to get from one thing to another, and there's certain pieces you have to put together in order to do the conversion. So I really like solving these, and I hope that by the end of this video, you feel the same way. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, what is a unit rate conversion? In order to understand that, I need to first kind of explain what a unit rate is. And so a unit rate is basically, it's the rate, like a cost or a speed or size of something, of a particular one item. Hence the term unit. It means really one. So some examples, you have 45 miles per hour, $2.49 per gallon. Those are unit rates. And so what is a unit rate conversion? That is basically when you are given one unit rate and you are asked to convert it or translate it or mathematically calculate it as another unit rate. So some examples would be if you wanted to turn feet per second into miles per hour, or if you wanted to turn grams per liter into ounces per gallon. Those would be unit rate conversions. And so we're going to take a look at a couple examples, but first I want to kind of explain how you would go about converting a unit rate. So how do you solve them? Basically what you're doing is you are taking a unit rate and you're multiplying by 2 or 3 or more other unit rates in the form of a fraction. And the effort is to basically cancel out units you don't want anymore and end up with the desired unit rate. And in order to cancel out the units, you have to have in your fractions one of those units on the top of one fraction and on the bottom of another fraction. Because if you have a unit on the top of one and the bottom of another, they just cancel out. And so let's look at some generic example on how this works, and then we'll look at two specific examples. So if I wanted to convert minutes per hour into seconds per week, what I can do is, so I first take a look at minutes per hour. Well, I know that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. It's a unit rate. And so I need to basically find other unit rates to be able to go from minutes per hour into seconds per week. And in order to get rid of the units I don't want anymore, I need to have one of those units on the top of a fraction and that same unit on the bottom of another fraction. So if I look at, for example, going from minutes to seconds, I need to end up with seconds in the end. So I know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. Those are the same thing. It's a unit rate. I can multiply my original fraction by 60 seconds over a minute. And because I have minutes on the top of one fraction and minutes on the bottom of another, I know those are going to cancel. And I have seconds on the top, so that's what I want. Now I need to look at basically going from hours to weeks. So one of the things I can do is, I don't really know if I can go straight from hours to weeks, but I know that I can go from hours to days to weeks by multiplying by some unit rates. And I know that there are 24 hours in a day, so I can multiply by that unit rate. And I write it like this because my hours were originally on the bottom, and I need to cancel them out, so I have to have them on the top of another fraction. And then I also know that there are 7 days in a week, and in order to get rid of days, because I don't want to end up with that, I write it as 7 days on top, 1 week on the bottom. Now what happens is, after all this, I have my week as one of my units, I have seconds as another unit, so I have the units I want. I just look at canceling out the ones I don't want. And so, like I said, minutes are on the top of one fraction, they're on the bottom of another, so they cancel. Hours on the bottom and on the top, they cancel. Days on the bottom and on the top, and they cancel. So what happens after that is I am left with seconds on the top, weeks on the bottom, which is the unit that I want. So all I have to do now is just multiply my fractions together. And remember, when you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across. So when I do that, I definitely would recommend typing it in a calculator. you get a giant number, 604,800 seconds in a week. So that is my unit rate. And one of the things to keep in mind with unit rates is it is not really a unit rate unless the denominator is a value of 1. And we'll see what that means in our two examples. So let's look at those. All right, so you have a person that's walking at a rate of 6 feet per second, and they ask, well, what rate does that person walk in miles per hour? They also are nice enough to tell us that there are 5,280 feet in a mile. So we need to go from feet per second to miles per hour. So they tell us the person's walking 6 feet per second, and they also tell us that there are 5,280 feet in a mile. Well, that means I can cancel out feet if I have, the fraction or the unit rate 1 mile over 5,280 feet, because now I have feet on the top and bottom, they would cancel, which means I need to get from seconds to hours. And so, I know I can go from seconds to minutes and minutes to hours, so I'm going to do that. I know that there are 60 seconds in a minute, and I know that there are 60 minutes in an hour. And so I write it this way because I know that my units can cancel for the ones I don't want. I have miles in my fraction, I have hours in my fraction, and so I know that I have the units I need. I just need to get rid of the ones I don't need. So I can get rid of feet because there's one on top and bottom, and get rid of seconds, there's one on top and bottom. I can get rid of minutes, there's one on top and bottom. I'm left with miles per hour. So now all I have to do is multiply my fractions, and I do that by going straight across. Again, type it in your calculator. You get 21,600 miles for every 5,280 hours. Now, this is not a unit rate because my bottom value is not 1. It gives me a certain number of miles for every 5,280 hours. I need the value for every 1 hour. And so when this happens, all you have to do is take your numerator divided by your denominator. Again, please use your calculator. You end up getting approximately 4.09 miles per hour, which is the unit rate that you want. So if you happen to walk at 6 feet per second, you're going to be walking at just over 4 miles an hour. Pretty decent pace for walking. All right, let's look at one more example. Since the fitness coach is preparing a healthy protein drink, the mixture he uses asks for 75 grams of protein per liter of water. What is the ratio in ounces per gallon? All right, so we're going to go from grams per liter into ounces per gallon. Those are pretty random rates or units, and so they are nice enough to tell us that 1 ounce equals 28.35 grams, and 1 gallon is 3.8 liters. So let's use that information to convert one unit to another. So we start off, they tell us they're using 75 grams per liter. And they tell us that 1 ounce is 28.35 grams. So I don't want grams in the end, so I can get rid of it by using that information they gave us, 1 ounce over 28.35 grams. And again, we have grams on the top and grams on the bottom, so they're cancel. So that's why I write it that way. I also don't want liters anymore. I want gallons. And so they tell us that 1 gallon is 3.8 liters. To cancel out liters, I already have liters on the bottom. So in my unit rate to multiply by, I'm going to have it on the top. Because I know if I have one on the top, one on the bottom, they cancel. So 3.8 liters per 1 gallon. So now one of my fractions contains ounces, one of them contains gallons. I have all the units I want. I start canceling out what I don't want, which in this case is grams and liters. That leaves me with ounces and gallons. All right, so now I have the units I want. I'm just going to multiply my fractions by going straight across. I get 285 over 28.35. Again, just typing it into my calculator. Because my denominator is not 1, I don't really have a unit rate yet, so I just divide out numerator divided by denominator, and I get approximately 10.05 ounces per gallon. So that is the final unit rate. So I hope this helps you with understanding how to do unit rate conversions. Some things to keep in mind is that you will probably have to multiply by 2 or 3 or even more different unit rates to end up with the final units that you want, and that's perfectly fine. Remember, in order to cancel out units you don't want, you have to have the unit on the top of one fraction and on the bottom of the other. And if you end up with a final fraction where the denominator does not equal 1, it's not yet a unit rate, and so you need to just divide numerator divided by denominator to get your unit rate. So again, I hope this helps, and I hope everyone is staying safe. And as always, thanks for watching.